Welcome, everyone, to today's Explainer. Our goal today is pretty straightforward, but honestly, really powerful. We're going to cut right through all the morning noise of June 30th, 2026, and look at the actual connective tissue that's actively shaping our world right now. I know there's just a ton of data flying around out there, but we're going to make sense of the whole shebang. We'll see exactly how big global macro trends are trickling down into everyday micro impacts. Let's dive in.
Look at this top story from this morning. It really highlights a massive pivot we're seeing. For months, it felt like geopolitics and global tensions were completely dominating the headlines, right? But now, the market is actively shifting its attention toward hard, undeniable economic realities. Investors are zeroing in on employment numbers, manufacturing output, and inflation signals. They're basically trying to read the tea leaves to figure out exactly where the second half of 2026 is heading. So, to make sense of this pivot, here is our roadmap for today. First, we'll look at the mid-2026 macro outlook. 2, AI enters production reality. 3, powering the AI boom. 4, reshaping work and culture. And finally, number 5, looking to the second half.
All right, Section 1, mid-2026 macro outlook. Balancing optimism and observation. Right now, the global environment is basically defined by a really delicate balancing act. Over in diplomacy, the Middle East is still the top geopolitical story, especially with ongoing U.S.-Iran engagement. In Europe, Ukraine and Russia are continuing to exchange long-range attacks. But here's the fascinating part. Despite all of this regional instability, global shipping routes are remaining surprisingly stable. International trade is fundamentally adapting. It's keeping the economic gears turning even while the geopolitical landscape is, frankly, pretty complex. Now, bringing those global currents back home to domestic realities in the U.S., we are heading right into Independence Day travel, and we're doing it against a backdrop of some severe summer heat waves. So public safety is definitely top of mind. At the same time, we've got structural economic issues front and center, housing affordability is still a major hurdle for buyers, and border policies remain a central conversation. Yet, amidst all this, infrastructure construction is booming right now across multiple states. It's this really complex mix of immediate daily challenges combined with serious long-term structural investment. Moving on to Section 2, AI enters production reality, from experimentation to execution. So this macro environment we just talked about, it directly fuels the specific tech engine that is driving valuations right now. And of course, I'm talking about artificial intelligence. But listen, we are not talking about the AI of a year or two ago. Those past cycles were almost entirely about experimentation and hype. Today, in June 2026, enterprise AI has moved firmly into routine operations. Businesses aren't just playing in the sandbox anymore. They are demanding measurable returns on their investments. Operational reliability is suddenly this massive competitive advantage. And because of that intense demand for measurable returns, usage-based AI pricing is gaining some serious momentum. Customers are making it clear they only want to pay for exactly what they use in their production environments. We are seeing a firm shift away from that speculative, blank check tech spending of the past. So where is the long-term money actually going to support all this? Well, the tech investment leaders right now are heavily focused on infrastructure. We're talking massive capital spending on AI data center construction, semiconductors, and cloud expansion worldwide. But don't overlook cybersecurity. It is absolutely remaining a top enterprise priority. Because as software shifts more and more toward intelligent assistance, securing those automated workflows, yeah, that's completely non-negotiable. Which brings us to Section 3, powering the AI boom, the physical footprint of digital tech. You really can't have this massive digital expansion without a huge physical footprint. This is where the digital world literally crashes into the physical world, and it's happening through a very clear chain reaction. Step 1, explosive AI data center construction. Step 2, all that construction leads directly to a massive surge in long-term electricity demand. And Step 3, that demand is fundamentally reshaping utility planning everywhere. It's single-handedly accelerating grid modernization, driving renewable energy investment, and bringing a whole lot of renewed policy attention back to nuclear power. The AI boom is, for sure, an energy boom. And that brings us to a really critical takeaway. Energy security is now a paramount strategic priority. With industrial electrification expanding right alongside AI infrastructure, things like energy affordability and grid resilience have become these major interconnected policy discussions. You simply cannot separate technology leadership from energy leadership in 2026. They are joined at the hip.
All right, Section 4, Reshaping Work and Culture, the human element of 2026.
Let's bring all these big macro and tech trends down to the human level, starting with our careers. Employers are heavily prioritizing measurable productivity right now, which has really accelerated skills-based hiring. And for software developers, AI coding assistants aren't just cool novelties anymore. They're standard, everyday tools. Over in medicine, the integration is just as profound. We are seeing major expansions in remote patient monitoring and AI-assisted diagnostics. It's shortening clinical research timelines and paving the way for some incredible investments in precision medicine. Now, if you're sitting there worried about machines completely taking over your job, take a breath and consider this. Human oversight remains absolutely central to AI deployment. Yes, automation is changing how we work, but businesses are quickly finding out that continuous learning, human expertise, and having strong cybersecurity teams are more critical than ever to make sure these AI agents operate safely out in the wild. And what about outside of work? How are we unwinding these days? Well, the World Cup knockout matches are drawing absolutely massive worldwide audiences right now. It's serving as a true global focal point. At the same time, digital culture is just thriving. The creator economy keeps expanding, podcast listening is growing, and there is this fascinating ongoing public debate happening about the role AI is starting to play in music, publishing, and the broader creative industries. It's wild to watch unfold. And finally, Section 5, looking to the second half. Consistent themes for late 2026. As we wrap up this explainer, let's synthesize what all this means for the rest of the year. Despite the cautious diplomacy and the shifting geopolitics we discussed earlier, we are actually moving forward with some remarkably consistent themes. Technology investment remains highly resilient, and it's strictly focused on the operational infrastructure of AI, those data centers, the semiconductors, and the power grids. Above all else, we are witnessing a sweeping era of long-term modernization, and it spans across both private industry and federal government agencies alike. I want to leave you with a final provocative thought today. We've just seen how AI has officially graduated from a trendy buzzword to the critical infrastructure that's reshaping our energy grid and our daily workflows. So the question you got to ask yourself today is this: as AI transitions into this new reality, how will your specific industry adapt in the second half of 2026? Think about that as you go about your day. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep learning, keep observing, and I'll see you next time.